So hello and welcome to my day 30 to 37 week in review build log for Stronghold Kingdoms. Now this playthrough I was trying to do no cards, but I seem to have violated that a little bit right here. Now what this is it's a captain, and one thing you'll find out about Stronghold Kingdoms is that even free-to-play players can afford the advanced and basic logistics cards, and they're quite preferred for doing quick captures and whatnot. So if you intend to be at all active in the game, you're probably going to be wanting to trade most of the free cards you're getting in for card points and then buying advanced logistics cards with them. And the reason you want to use advanced logistics usually is because it is 3 times the speed of a regular army. And basically regular armies are 3 times the speed of a captain right off the bat. So really what I like to cover first is the research that I have completed in the past 7 days. Now really this last week has been focused mostly on military, although I did put an additional point into commerce. This is so that I could trade outside of my province and pretty much throughout the whole country. Given my unique situation, this is actually quite beneficial to me because it means I can now trade with Delaware, which is basically one parish over from me. I was previously restricted from doing this because of the the country border right here. And since researching it, I have noticed that I'm getting much better sale prices for apples and ale selling into East Pennsylvania than I could anywhere in basically Maryland, Delaware, or New Jersey, because those were the areas that were previously open to me after completing the research for province, trade within the same province. Basically commerce level 2. I now have it up to commerce level 3, and I'm tripping over my words. So that took care of everything in education tree. In the industry tree, I put one more point into weapon making, and the logic behind this was, at the time, I believe the war was winding down a bit, and I would focus a bit more on production, especially weapon production, because weapons always sell for a good price in the first age, and my parishes need upgrading. So I haven't done any research into armor working or pull turning yet, both of which are going to be critical, but I figured, max out weapon making first to get the bonus for all weapons, and then you can start specializing a bit more, because I did max out fletching and I'm making a lot of bows per day. Really, I have to be careful because my armory fills up quickly, but I haven't had the research points yet to actually invest more in armory size. My current armory size is 30, but there have been more important researches to complete. Now, most of my research in the past week was done in the military branch, and this is primarily because my house is at war and I am in a war zone. Last week, I completed longbow completely and maybe 2 or 3 points into pike. I maxed out pike research, which means my pikemen now have a full 100% additional health points. Now this is important because pikemen are often used to mass pike to keep as a sort of a last ditch effort. This basically means employing around 50 to 75 pikemen right in front of your keep to prevent the captain attack from reaching the keep, because you can't use that many captains in a keep. Even if I didn't max out pike research, and you rationalize that by saying, well, I'm just going to put 5 captains in the keep anyway, it doesn't allow you to use the mass pike keep strategy. And also, if you're going to be attacking other players like I am, you're going to need pike research so that that way they don't just die off right away. So yeah, basically I completed the pikeman research, so now my archers and pikemen are both maxed out. And the other really important thing was maxing out logistics. Now, I got access to my 4th village in this past week. I did the leadership research for it, but I haven't actually taken the village yet. I also researched an additional point into captains so I could unlock logistics, and then proceeded to max out logistics. Now logistics needs 8 points to max it out, and once you have it maxed out, your captains are going to be going much quicker. And the reason that I went for max logistics over maxed forced march is because I was afraid that, given the fact that I was in a county such as this one right here, Delaware, it is probable to suspect that I would be targeted due to the small size of this county, and when the enemy is interested in securing it, they're going to target you more than a county that's big like East Pennsylvania. So I thought I might end up getting reset because I was running, a little bit low on faith points, but that didn't happen. I have castles that are building. They are not too bad. Oops. And I'm just going to show you what I sort of have in progress here. This is my second village, and as you can see, I'm working on the moat currently. But yeah, the guardhouses in the back, because capping from the rear is pretty difficult. And I got 3 layers of towers here. Now the archers aren't on the walls right now because I really don't want to give away my exact layout for the archers. But yeah, you can see basically the progress I have completed with the castle now. One of the reasons that I have completed that much of the castle is rather early on, a couple weeks ago, I maxed out construction, and this is a very important research, especially if your house is at war as early as mine was, because I saw other players who, the player used to be in this village, parish, 3 villages, completely capped out because he couldn't defend his villages. Now for me, I was able to, both my first 2 villages, once when the war started, right off the bat, I had 400 archers, give or take a few pikemen, on the walls of these villages, and that means that any scouts that hit them were just all killed off. And any enemies that are interested in scouting me learned this pretty quickly or pretty early on, and then they stopped scouting me. Save for this village. Now this village was scouted a few times until I'd say 4 days ago, when I finally got enough barracks built to put 400 troops in the castle. Again, mostly archers, and once those scouts stop returning, they really stop scouting you. They get the point that your castle is fully garrisoned and they're not going to get a report. Now another side to sort of playing the free-to-play player in a war zone, which is very dangerous. All my villages are in here. What's dangerous about it, oh look, we just switched houses. What's dangerous about it is you have to ID and you can't counter as well. So we had Lube Junkie jumping all over the place. He was sending caps all over, and it's really disappointing from a free-to-player point of view because you can't compete with it at all. And I really experienced this, I remember back in World 1, UK World 1, when I first started playing. There would be times when the carters, the enemy carters would get online and just, get wrecked, just tear stuff up. And basically there was nothing you could do. And sometimes the parish armies, even though it was only in the first age at the time, the parish armies are so fast, they just hit you at an unbelievable rate that you can't really keep up with how many times they're hitting your villages. In which case, I just interdict my villages and leave until their stupid speed cards wear off, because 4 hours later those cards are gone. So if they can't cap me for 4 hours, that is a good investment in interdiction. And I find that's really the best approach, because it can also make you angry at the game, and you see basically, because it's not fair. I don't think anyone's saying it is, but you're less likely to break down and buy cards then. And at the same time, if you can ID yourself or interdict yourself, you're going to be safe from the attacks they launch at your villages. Interdiction blocks attacks. And I found that to be the best approach, especially for those of you who have a little bit less self-restraint. So all total, I spent 20 points of research in the past week. The week before that was 25 research points. So as you can see, I continually am spending less and less in research all the time, and that's going to be a trend that continues on as research times get longer and additional sub-ranks are more difficult to achieve. That said, I mentioned I researched logistics and leadership for the 4th village. That's because I hit Baron 5th rank, and last week I was only a Knight 6th rank, Knight 4th rank. So yeah, making some decent progress here in the ranks, even though we are at war. And now I recently took a hit for capturing some squire, I think. Is it a squire? It's a page. Jeez, man, that burns having to cap a page. But You know, that's what war is about. You're not just going for the highest levels, you gotta actually help your house. And that brings up another important point. I recently got the charity achievement for sending some weapon supplies. And I had too many bows, and that was sort of the build I was going for here, was one that could mostly assist the fighting player. So, you know, that made me feel like I'd actually done something that was worthwhile. So that's why I'm happy I could contribute in a small way, even though I haven't been playing cards. That said, in the past week, I didn't complete any quests at all. Now, I was sort of occupied with the war that was going on, and I don't have any speed in army or in scouts yet. Which brings up an important point that I overlooked. In military, I also started researching more scouts. Originally, I was going to go for faster weapon production, but then, like I said, it turns out we're going to be at war with House 9 as well, so most likely I'm going to be here at the game more of the time, because wars require much more of a player's time every day. So I might as well invest in scout, so that way I can scout other players and I can better forage off the map, get better reports. It's all good, especially if you're going to be active. So I figured I would start focusing more research points into scouts instead. And you know, that is a great way, scouts, to pick up stashes off the map for resources that you don't have, especially banqueting goods, because I'm not producing any banqueting goods right now, and to upgrade some of the guilds in my parish, I'm either going to have to rely on faction members and house members to help me, or on my foraging abilities. And so far my foraging abilities suck because I only had one scout per village. So there's a lot of self-sufficiency associated with having more scouts than just having better production. And I realize it's relative to your situation, which is why I am making this distinction. If you are not at war, you might want to consider a more production-oriented build here, rather than focusing on activity-oriented, such as scouts. You know, maybe put points into dairy farming to unlock an additional food type. This will boost your passive honor. Maybe go industry, build more weapons faster. You can supply your faction mates with weapons, you can sell them, you can donate them to the parish. There's lots of stuff that weapons are needed for, which is why it's important to increase their production when you have the opportunity. And it's all about prioritization, as it is with any other research in Stronghold Kingdoms. You got to decide which researches are at the moment are going to benefit me the most. And this has been the direction I took. My circumstances are unique to me, but if they apply even a little to you, you should consider sort of following in the same footsteps, I think. I mean, I haven't lost a village so far. And a lot of this, I think, has to do with the fact that I don't attack anyone until just today. You make no mistake about it. Regardless of what anyone tells you, if you are attacking players, they're more likely to attack you back. And the reason I don't get attacked a lot in Stronghold Kingdoms in general is because I've not been a very aggressive player. You know, there gets to be the whole E-peen thing. I mean, I can sort of relate for scouting. This happens frequently with scouting. If you have a player that scouts you, and you act like, well, I'm going to show that player and scout him right back. If I was the player doing the scouting, that would incense me more to go ahead and try to, attack you and raise you and stuff, for just having the nerve to scout me back. Because usually when I scout players, it is from a position of power. In other words, I know that I'm relatively stronger than they are. So it's sort of a sign of disrespect to scout a player back after they scout you when they are lower in the power ranking. And I know that is projection to an extent, but I think other players feel the same way. And if you attack other players, if you harass them or ransack them, expect to get that stuff comes around in the end. And if you're trying to maintain a low profile, don't attack. And your faction might not understand this, but you are only a free-to-play player, and your rank may sort of betray you. People think you're better than you really are, because being a baron after just a little over a month is pretty progressive for somebody who isn't playing cards. And it's easy to misinterpret that to be something that it isn't. Well, I think I've covered everything I wanted to mention in this episode. It was more about military strategy in a war zone for a free-to-play player, but I know what, keeping these episodes varied, I think, is key to audience retention. As long as I'm giving out additional information, new strategies and stuff, that should keep people interested in this series. So that is why I think it is more important to focus on larger picture strategy than which apple farms I built now in my third village. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.